Well, now that you've read the chapter and watched the presentation, and hopefully tried some of these examples in the books, we should be coming away from Lesson 6, Chapter 6, being able to have learned how to make text appear as bold, italic, and how to code subscripts, superscripts, and special symbols, as well as accented letters. We saw how to control the size, color, and typeface of any section of text on a web page, and we even talked about how to use web fonts for more interesting typefaces. And we learned that attributes are used to specify options and special behavior for many HTML tags. We learned to use style attribute with CSS rules to affect the appearance of text. We also learned how to create and combine 3 basic types of HTML lists: ordered list, unordered list, and definition list. List can be placed within other lists to create outlines and other complex arrangements of text. And we also learned how to arrange text and images in organized rows and columns called tables. We learned the basic tags for creating tables and several CSS properties for controlling the alignment, spacing, and appearance of tables. We learned that tables should not be used for layout purposes, but you can achieve a multi-column layout by using CSS columns. Years ago, people would use tables to pretty much lay out their whole web page. So if you're ever looking at old code or old websites, it was a common practice. And your book talks about it, how it was used to use for layouts. And we learned about CSS columns, how we can use them to lay out our text, and how they will be more useful in the future when we're learning about a responsive website design. And then at the end of Chapter 6, there's a table of HTML tags and attributes that were covered in this lesson. So it's helpful to review them and go over anything that we may have learned that you may not memorize or understand, and you can use it as a reference point when you're coding and programming these examples. Coming up next, I'm going to share my screen with you and show you an example that we talked about in this lesson. At the end of Lesson 6, you have 2 putting it all together lab exercises, HTML Basics Part 1 and HTML Basics Part 2. Where you're asked to make a sample page with a main heading, some subheadings, some paragraphs, which we learned about in earlier lessons, and a bulleted list and a numbered list, which a bulleted list is an unordered list and a numbered list is an ordered list, which we went over. Here's an example of what it should look like. These are our 2 lists. Notice here these are the subheadings. All the blah 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 are paragraphs. This is our main heading. Now this navigation has 4 links, so those are those Ahref tags. And these are linking to different HTML documents that are saved in the same folder. So essentially you're going to need 2 different HTML documents, one for page 1, one for page 2. And then to go to the bottom, you're going to use an ID. You're going to give an ID into one of the tags down here on the bottom as a reference point, so you can click here and it goes to the bottom. We'll go back in the textbook and through the presentations. Make sure I knew how to make a heading and a subheading. Those are those H1, H2, H3 tags and paragraphs. Start off with your basic required HTML tags, and then add a main heading, an H1 tag that says some important topic, and add your subheadings here. Add your unordered list under this subheading, and add your ordered list under this one. Now when I go through something, and if you already went through the textbook and the presentations and you want some more resources, I told you about W3 Schools. So say you need to know how to make a list in HTML. I just went on Google, I searched this, and the top one that comes up is W3 Schools. So if you click that, you can see it tells you an example of an unordered and ordered list. You can go through and see a coding example here. And you can try it. Click try, and it gives you the code here and what it would look like. So if I click run, it's running this code to show this. I can also go in here and add another list item. Click run, and it will add that here. So this is a good interactive way to test and make sure you understand some topics. If we want to know how to make a table, Same thing. I search how to make a table in HTML. I get this one. This comes up, shows you what an example of what it would look like. And also, if you click try it yourself, you can see your HTML here, table with the table row, table data. Notice that border collapse, we talked about that, the width. And notice how it's making every other row with a gray background. Click run. We can go through and change this to green. Click run. Now it's every other one is green. Linking to different pages in HTML. Same thing, usually W3 Schools is the first one that comes up. I'm going to click on this, and this is going to be useful for your top. We're going to want to learn how to link to different pages with our ahref tag. Gives you the basic syntax, which we talked about. An example of linking to an external site. But we want to do local links. Shows you how to use an image as a link, buttons as links. It gives you tons of examples of all different links you could have. This is what we want. Example, links to a page located in the same folder as the current page. So if we put another HTML file in the same folder, we can link to it like this. Another thing you might want to know is how to assign classes in HTML, what you're going to need to do for this. So if I click on this, it'll show you this class, cities, and it'll show you what it does. You can run this code, or it will show you the result here, and that's how each one of these is styled. We change this to blue, click run. Each one of these has the same class. London, Paris, they all have the same class. If I remove this class from the one that says London, London won't be styled at all. That's why it's important to make sure all your classes are assigned properly. So these are just some things that I like to do when I'm approaching a problem. If there's anything I don't understand, and I already went through the book and I already went through the presentation, use Google search and make sure you search exactly what you're trying to do. And that way we learned how to put everything all together. Now, to give you a little hint, I actually did this lab and I worked through it. Remember, we can use our developer tools when we're done to check things. I'm going to go right click, click inspect. I'm just going to show you a little bit of what the code looks like. Up top here in the head, it is linking to an external style sheet. When you use your developer tools and you highlight over something, I'm highlighted over this H1 and see how it highlights up there. If I move down here, this is that navigation bar, and notice each one of these is a link. Now to get that ID, at the bottom here, there's a paragraph with an ID. It says bottom of the page right here. If we give that ID bottom to this paragraph, when someone clicks on the link to the bottom, you can just do the name of the page, which is page1.html, and # bottom, and it will take them to the bottom. So if I click this bottom, clicking it will bring me down here. And that's done by linking to that page with that ID at the end of the name. Then we have our image. Notice that it's aligned to the right. We talked about alternate tags for the image are important. In case the image doesn't show, it will show that alternate tag. Here's our paragraphs. Notice our H2, unordered list here, ordered list here.
I just went a little bit through the first lab for you. You can use the same type of approach to do your second lab. Just wanted to give you a little bit of idea of how to search for things and what it should look like. I'll give you a little bit of a head start.
And again, practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. If there's anything you didn't understand, go back, read it again, watch the presentation, and try all the examples in the book. I really encourage you to just go and look at those examples, copy them into your text editor, and try and see what happens. Also, play around with it, add some more stuff, and use your other resources, such as W3 Schools, to try interactive examples. We will see you next time with Lesson 7.